my name is Jennifer DeCola Matos. I'm the Executive Director of the Noah Webster House in West Hartford Historical Society. Thank you for joining us as we explore some of West Hartford's best historic houses. Today we're going to be talking about the house at 18 Brightwood Lane, which is called the Charles E. Beach House. And with me today, I have the homeowner, Jeffrey Tischler. His wife, Lori Tischler, is not able to join us this afternoon,
sadly,
unfortunately.
Yes.
And I have Deborah Ortega, who is Jeffrey's realtor at William Ravis. And they're going to be joining us today to talk a little bit about this amazing historic house. So first, let me tell you a little bit about the house. The house was built in 1901. It is on the National Register of Historic Places. It is a wonderful example of shingle-style architecture. An amazing thing about Brightwood Lane is I like to consider it a piece of hidden history in West Hartford. It's right in plain sight, but not often do people go up this hill. So let me situate you a little bit to where Brightwood Lane is. If you're at the corner of New Britain Avenue and South Main Street, there is a hill, and on that hill, which is Winthrop Road, leads to it, and then what's the other side?
Brightwood
Lane.
Brightwood Lane is the other side, and it will take you up the hill, and here is this beautiful historic home from 1901, and when it was built, it was one of only two houses on that site. It was the site of what is called Vine Hill Farm. There's a man named Charles M. Beach. He bought the property in 1859 as a summer home, and he had his house still stands as well. It's 11 Winthrop Lane. The house is from 1850. He had many children who grew up summering there at Vine Hill Farm, and one of his sons, Charles E. Beach, built the house that we're going to be talking about in 1901, and he built that for his own family. Now, Vine Hill Farm was the leading dairy farm in West Hartford and really put West Hartford on the map. They figured out a way to pasteurize the milk. It was called sanitary milk or hygienic milk, and they shipped it all over the country. They had a massive farm at one point owning all four corners of New Britain Avenue and South Main Street. They had a grist mill, an ice pond, as well as this huge dairy enterprise. Charles E. Beach ended up going to Amherst College, and when he returned at the age of 21, his dad put him in charge of the farm. He hired a man named Frank Stottmuller, and he was the manager of the farm, and he really put together this process of pasteurizing the milk and making sure that everything was very sanitary in order to have a very high superior grade of milk. And that's what really made Vine Hill so special. Now, there are traces of Vine Hill around if you're looking for it. If you're on New Britain Avenue, you might notice that there is a Vine Hill Road, which is directly named from the farm. Beachland Park is named after the Beach family. They donated the land that became Beachland Park. There is the Beachland Creamery, which is on Quaker Lane. That was the creamery that was used by the farm to process the milk and make the butter and everything. So it's this amazing piece of history in our town that is very often overlooked. So we're really excited to tell you a little bit more about this beautiful house. And so I'm going to ask Jeffrey some questions. So Jeffrey, you and your wife Lori have I understand you've lived in the house for quite a few years. So can you tell me more about it?
32 years ago, we were looking for a home. We had been living in our Victorian home in Hartford, and it just needed something bigger. And someone that my wife worked with said, "Oh, I know the perfect house for you." And she sent us over to Brightwood Lane. And as we drove up the hill and looked up, our mouths dropped open and we were astounded. And never in our wildest dreams did we think that we would end up living there, but we hoped. And that was 32 years ago, and we've been there ever since and loving every moment of it.
So tell me a little bit about the house. What is it like living in this historic place? It's a very large house. What is that like? How do you use the space?
Well, when we first moved in, of course it was a challenge. We had a lot of art, so we wanted to fill the house with all of our art. We had a large Asian art collection, Korean art, and we had a lot of friends who would come and spend weekends with us. and we like to host large parties. It's been a joy living there. The house needed quite a bit of work when we moved in. So it was a continual work in progress, and I think we finally reached a point where the house
beautiful.
is ready for everyone to see and enjoy as much as we have.
It's wonderful. So it's 8,426 square feet, which includes 3 livable floors, as well as an extensive basement with a wine cellar and a little cooling room. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, the wine cellar is quite remarkable. It'll hold 1,200 bottles, clay sheets set into concrete with tile background. The cooling room that you mentioned actually has a huge refrigerator door, and they had a cold air return with large hooks hanging from underneath the porte cochere, the large stone porch. And that's where they would hang sides of beef. They would fill the water up in the room during the winter, and it would freeze, and it was a giant ice room. So that's where they kept their beef. The basement is extensive, the whole size of the house.
And meticulous.
And I made
The
sure
cleanest basement I've ever seen.
Very clean. So worked a lot on that, make all that happen. But every project was something that I took to heart and made sure that the house would be preserved in all its splendor and maintained the way it needed to be.
Amazing. So that cooling room is like early refrigeration, kind of a giant ice box,
It was,
if you will.
yes.
Amazing. Now, you mentioned the porte cochere. Can you tell us a little bit about that? That might be a different architectural feature people aren't familiar with.
It is. And you know, as you mentioned, Brightwood Lane only came into existence in the 1940s when the property began to sell off, when all their acreage began to sell. The front of the house actually faced South Main Street, and Brightwood Lane never existed up until that point. But the porte cochere, getting back to that, was where people would pull up in their carriages at the turn of the 20th century, ultimately automobiles, and they would drop people off, guests. I'm sure people like Mark Twain and other notable folk would come and visit the beaches, and they would be dropped off at the formal front door. And so now it's just a gorgeous all stone porch, and that now has steps going up to it because they no longer have. You can't just drive through any longer. But that was added on a little bit after. And up above, from our master bedroom, you can walk out onto the balcony, which is the top of the porte cochere,
nice.
and you have a beautiful view of the sunset and the park-like backyard.
Wonderful. So if, let's say, we're a guest arriving to the home in our carriage and we arrive to the front door, what would you see when you open the door?
Well, when you open the front door, which is now on Brightwood Lane, all right? Are you talking not the
No,
porte
you're talking
cochere.
porte cochere.
Are you talking the porte cochere? We back
Back in 1900.
Let's
Back,
pretend.
what would you
Let's
see?
We're in
pretend.
1900.
Yeah.
You have this massive door made from ash. As has been noted, there are many different kinds of wood that is in splendid condition throughout the house. At least 17 different kinds of wood.
Wow.
A wood conservator came through the house one day and helped to identify a lot of it.
Wow.
It was quite exciting. Anyway, back to your question. As you come through that front door, it leads to the formal living room. And it's you would first see the beautiful silk screen prints that are original with the house that cover all the walls in the living room and in the library.
Wow.
So that's the first view you would get coming
And the
in.
mahogany beams
yes.
and Jacobean paneling.
Thank
right?
you. Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. The wood is spectacular throughout the house.
breathtaking.
Every room has different wood. So wherever you go, you say, "Oh, what kind of wood is that?" And it has been preserved and kept to the point where you say, "Wow, this looks like it was just made." And the artisans, the quality of people that Mr. Beach must have had to put all this wood together is
Pretty
remarkable.
And the large
And worth-
windows
and-
that bring in the light, the natural light.
Yeah, huge windows. So you have, and the way the house was built, they took all that into account so that Brightwood Lane, you have your morning sun pouring through. In the living room, you get your southern exposure, and when the sun hits the wood, it just lights up brilliantly.
Wow.
So,
Didn't your wife Lori say she could picture Charles E., the son, walking the land and looking around to find the right spot for the home so it received sun from every side?
from every side,
Yeah.
so that you get the
You
most.
can kind of envision him.
I can totally picture him.
Yeah.
Because imagine there's just one house on all of these acres of land, and he picks
That
the spot that is perfect,
optimal
for
for
his
sun
house.
Yeah.
exposure.
I believe there was about 1,000 acres.
Wow.
So which encompassed Beachland Park, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
and the grist mill, and where 84 is, where their barns were for their
Wow.
cows that produce this mother's milk that they sent by rail all around the country.
Wow, and
Yeah.
remarkable. So in the living area, by the way, everybody, I have toured this house and it's very beautiful. So I'm doing a little mental tour in my head right now. So I'm in the living room and there's this really cool suspended staircase. And then you've got the fireplace that it has Charles Beach's initials in it, right? In the date?
On one side, it's CEB, Charles E. Beach, is engraved. There's Latin engraved in the front. May the Lord bless this hearth and warmth.
Wow.
And on the other side is the completed date. The house they began building in 1899 and completed in 1901.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so from there we can go to the dining room.
Oh, don't forget the secret.
The secret.
Panel.
There's lots of secrets in your house, right?
The
There
secret
are
panel
hidden
under
panels.
the
They made
staircase.
use of every space. These artisans. There's a hidden safe underneath the staircase
The main
with the
grand
suspended
staircase.
staircase right above it. Very very formal. But the Connecticut Historic Society at one point many years ago did deem our house one of the finest examples of wood craftsmanship in the state.
Wow.
Maybe not the fanciest, but certainly
The finest.
quite spectacular
The
because of
quality,
the diversity of the woods
Yeah.
throughout the house. But as far as hidden spaces go, wherever you look, from the third floor, second, I'm still finding.
Or something
wait,
special.
so
I go look, I
Spaces.
said, this doesn't look like a drawer, but I start pulling. I said, oh my goodness, this, and
That just happened the other day. I mean, I've been in the house for many, many months, and you pulled the drawer out, and I said, I never knew that was there.
Yes.
So
That is-
just
That must be so exciting
Yeah,
to live in a house like that.
It is.
built-in,
it is.
yeah,
We-
built-in
we
doors, the
we
pocket
absolutely-
doors, the solid pocket doors.
Yes, there are pocket doors throughout the house. When you come in from Brightwood Lane, there is an immense pocket door that works beautifully, and that will lead you right into the living room, right next to the fireplace. And there are 7 fireplaces throughout the house, and each fireplace is different. It's done differently and distinguished from one another by its specific qualities, whether it's terracotta or tiled or whatever the case may be. They're all
As well
different.
as the radiators too. I've never seen such creative and decorative radiators, and every one of them is different in the home. I don't think there are 2 alike, are there?
No, they designed. Some of them are very simple, but most of them are elaborate. Beautifully, beautifully designed for the space. As you're walking up towards the second floor from the living room, it's a wraparound, and the bay windows on the lower landing. And just you can just see the
attention.
workmanship.
The workmanship and the attention to detail, or the bun warmer that the builder placed over the radiator in the butler's
pantry,
to
yes,
keep
yeah.
the bread warm before
What a
serving to the
nice-
Two
guests.
doors that
right?
open up, and you got the heat blasting, and
Yeah.
which works really well. It's a very warm house.
And do you use the bread warmer at all?
I actually have,
I
just
love
for
that.
the fun of it.
Right, why not?
One
See how
time,
it
we
works.
had guests, and I said, I think I'll put it was during the winter, and I said, I think I'll slip these rolls that I was going to make with the dinner, and I'll just keep them in there. They'll be nice and
It works.
tenderly warm.
I love it.
And the house is so solid too. Just even walking each floor, the hardwood floors alone are just, you don't hear any creaking. Someone brought that up one day. Do you notice there's no creaking?
Wow. That is interesting,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's solid.
And that has to do with the incredible construction of the house, the way it's built. Each floor level, has the hardwood floor. They have tongue and grooved, 2.5 by 6 inch tongue and groove boards that run the entire length of the house through every floor, through the roof. It's just
the terracotta fire.
and then there's, for insulation, heating and cooling, there's hollow terracotta fire brick that's located in every wall and every floor of the house. Very unusual. I don't know if you
Prevents
ever
fire and keeps the house
Wow,
and
It keeps
insulates the house.
Yeah, right. Heating and cooling.
They were
I don't
just so
know.
ahead
I've
of
never
their
heard,
time back
never
then.
heard of anybody doing anything like that. Yeah,
Me
that's
neither.
how
It's very
unique the house
unusual.
is.
So in terms of craftsmanship, I have also heard that Charles E. Beach worked with Tiffany to have at least one Tiffany window as part of the house, right? Can you tell us a little
Certainly.
about that?
Certainly did. Yes, it's a beautiful Tiffany window that's no longer in our possession because the Beaches donated it to the Mark Twain Foundation, and it's part of the permanent collection of Tiffany windows and lamps that Mark Twain hosts. And it's a very large window that was in the dining room that was backlit, so that you'd be able to inside outside you'd always see it, and it was of carp. Kind of an Asian theme, which lent perfectly to our Asian art collection. So,
Oh, wonderful, yeah.
and I have gotten the chance to see the window when it was on tour at the New Britain Museum. The Mark Twain House had a lot of their collection on tour. So I got to be standing right in front of it, and I said, I was picturing it
That's
in our dining room. I said,
Oh, neat.
wow, must have been
How
absolutely
spectacular,
Yeah.
right?
Truly.
Spectacular.
Special.
Now, as we pass through the dining room, you go through the butler's pantry and then into the kitchen, and you have a really unique stove in your kitchen.
I do. It's a vintage Garland stove that probably goes back around 1950, but that's been completely refurbished. So all re-enameled and all the chrome, and works beautifully. It's a 6-burner commercial gas stove with a double oven raised broiler and the huge New York copper hood, and a beautiful exhaust fan to do all the help me with all
hard
the
work.
cooking
Oh,
that
the
I
hard
love to
work,
do.
right?
So
That's his pride, I think,
yes,
right?
it's my pride and joy. I love my stove. So.
That must be a fun stove to
It
cook on.
is, and I can
kitchen
delight
is so-
my guests with some of
Yes,
the treats.
my husband and I have benefited from that Garland stove.
Yes.
He's quite a chef, I will say.
Yes,
And then in the kitchen, it's very whimsical in the kitchen. There also is the original bell system that
Yes,
the
the
servants
servants'
used,
bell system.
and the doors on the bells still work. So if
Yes.
someone and that happened, they'll ring the front door, and you come down, you can see it dropped, and you're like, oh, someone's at the front door.
Right, I'll
That's
run out
neat.
to the back door and hit the bell, and it drops.
Yeah, yeah.
Then it flips back up, so you can start again. So
Amazing.
yeah, and so everything is in marvelous working
And a
order in the
suspended
house.
staircase in the kitchen as well, a beautiful white
Yes.
suspended staircase.
Yes.
We did talk about the addition that you guys added to the home. It's
The house we were feeling a little cramped, so we thought we'd add
in
it.
8,426
Just kidding.
square.
No, but we did add an addition. It was our spa room, and so it's got an in-ground pool that's wonderful for exercising, and there's a steam shower with Italian marble and a hot tub. So it's and it's a climate-controlled room, so it's 78 degrees year-round, and a beautiful skylight and gorgeous windows, and the whole room is cedar. So
Wow.
it's just Lori, my wife, she's there every morning. She spends her mornings in there, and
And
before
watch
she
the
has to go to work.
snowfall and the leaves change
When you're
color.
in the pool and you look up, watching the snow come down, or as you said, the leaves, the trees.
Yeah.
It's
I have to
beautiful.
compliment the Tischlers though, because they did put on this addition, but they kept with the integrity of the home. So when you're in the backyard and looking at the addition, it does not stick out at all.
No.
The cedar, the red cedar shingle,
Right.
they carried it all along to the addition, and it's just beautiful. It looks like it was always there.
That's when we met with our architect, and when we wanted to design this room, we said, yeah, we want it to fit in with the house, and he did a super job. So it just
Yeah.
looks like part of the house.
It does.
Yeah,
Wonderful. I think the Beaches would approve.
I bet they would.
They would
I think
definitely.
they would like to be in that room.
I think they would have. Yeah, they're probably mad they didn't think of that. Okay, so let's go up. Actually, we missed one room downstairs that I
We
think is
did,
really
a
cool. The
critical
smoking
room.
room. Tell us a little
Yes.
bit
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, off of the dining room was a room that was probably where people would go after dinner and have a snifter of brandy and perhaps a cigar or a pipe. And this room is all cedar, and it's got a coffered ceiling. And the cedar, especially in the wintertime, when the heat goes on, you can smell the cedar wood. But the cedar was designed to absorb the odors so that all the smoke would stay in there and it wouldn't filter into the rest of the house. But it's a spectacular
It's amazing
room.
because you don't smell. You've been in the home. You don't smell any.
No, and of
Oh,
course
no.
nobody
Right.
smokes,
No one smokes there anymore.
But that was a long time ago. But still, and the detail work. Besides the coffered ceiling, once again another fireplace, different from all the others. Where one of the artisans took one of the cedar boards, sliced it in half, and there were 3 knots on each side of the board, and he etched peacock feathers on them.
Out of the
so
knots,
that you have on
how
both sides of the
charming.
fireplace, you have these 2 boards with the peacock feathers surrounding the mantle.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
So if
And
it-
that room, sorry,
no,
that
go
room leads down to the wine cellar. There's a
yes,
door
okay.
there that takes you right down to the spectacular wine cellar
you can
and
get
the
yourself a
refrigerator
drink
room.
and
Yes,
then go and hang
yes.
out and have a cigar or a pipe
Right.
or whatever.
The convenience of being that close to your wine cellar.
Yeah.
yes.
That's really neat. So if we go upstairs, which you could, if you were a guest, you'd be going up the main staircase, and if you were the hired help, you'd maybe be going through the staircase in the kitchen. What will you find on the second floor?
Second floor, first, once again, the wood is gorgeous. The wooden floors are all beautiful. Many have been redone. When you get up to the top of the stairs and you turn to the right, you walk into our master bedroom, which is all golden oak. And talk about glowing. You have your southern and western exposure for all the windows in that room, and it's just on fire.
Literally glows.
Yeah, it is just it glows.
amazing.
And so that room also leads to the balcony on top of the porte cochere.
That's right.
And of course, you have to go through this, my pride and joy, beautiful closet that I built for my wife Laurie and all of her long dresses. It's a little dressing area as well, but that leads out to the balcony, and that it's at the top of the porte cochere. And there's a bathroom. The space as far as closets, and there was a cedar closet in that bathroom that was all tiled, where at the turn of the century they had a lot of velour, velvet dresses,
sure, yeah.
and they would hang them in there to steam out the wrinkles. And
So it
so
was
they
like
would
a
actually.
steam
It was a
room.
little steam room, yes. So then large cedar shelf where you can pull out, where you hang the dresses, and then back in, and then they would light up the steam, and just all the wrinkles would come out. And a huge soaking tub around the corner from there in that master bath as well. So if you had a very large person, they could be completely immersed in the soaking tub.
Wonderful. So how many bedrooms are on that floor?
Oh, on that floor, there are 4 bedrooms on that floor, yes. Yes, 4 on
And-
the second floor. So, and they're all, once again, from the master bedroom, you walk into the mirrored dressing room. And that's where Mrs. Beach liked to display her perfume bottle collection. And she had, apparently there were bottles, gorgeous atomizers and beautiful bottles of hand-blown glass
You could
bottles.
still see where the shelves sat in the mirrors,
Right.
where all the shelving sat. There's still some markings from it. Yeah.
Wow.
And there is a
Neat.
fireplace in that room, and that room is all bird's eye maple. Actually, there's 3 different kinds of maple in that room. So it's with all the built-ins, and from there you go into another bedroom. There's a big pocket door there as well, and you go into that bedroom, and that bedroom has all the dental work, cut out dental fret
dental
work.
fret detailing.
Right, and all the columns it's all around the room. I don't know, there's
Eight
columns all around the room.
You taught me.
Yes, and another fireplace on the and that has a decorative coal stove in front of it, a French coal stove. So that's a spectacular bedroom. People vie for that one when they come for the weekend.
And their
Guest bedroom
linen
room.
closet. Their linen closet is about the size of a small bedroom.
It is,
Right.
Yes. Yeah. And all the doors are on ball bearings that slide smoothly. It just when you think about this house is almost 120 years old, and how well everything works.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how smoothly and
Amazing.
yeah.
So tell us last about the third floor? Because that is really unique.
The third floor is unique. A lot of people think, oh, what is that, your attic? And we go, no, there is no attic. So you go up to the third floor, which I believe was originally called the ballroom.
Wow.
And it's a vaulted ceiling with unblemished red pine. Basically, there are no knots in this pine. Except for my OCD friend who looked and says, I see one. No, come on. But that's how beautiful
After
it is.
120 years, there might be a blemish now.
There might
maybe
be, but
from
it is gorgeous. And now it is the game room, and there's a regulation-sized pool table, a professional foosball table. So for the enjoyment of adults and kids alike, there are also up on that third floor, the fireplace in that area is spectacular with the Delft. This has all Dutch tiles with terracotta rope, huge fireplace, and there are 3 bedrooms up on the third floor.
Oh, wow, okay.
On the 2 bedrooms on either side of the house, on the eastern side and western side, have their own balconies, so you can watch the sunrise on one side and then watch the sunset on the other. Have an evening glass of wine or your martini if you so choose, out on the balcony. So. And those bedrooms are quite lovely as well. Once again, the wood is just spectacular throughout the house. And on the other end is the last bedroom, which is a magnificent space that we redid not that long ago. And it would make a wonderful bedroom or an art studio or an exercise space, just about anything you can imagine. It's got the vaulted ceilings as well, and you can see all the beautiful tongue and groove boards that run the whole length of the house. And
What about on the roof?
We haven't even gotten to that area.
You can't
From the
forget
third floor,
the cherry on top.
there is a widow's walk, because from that widow's walk, and usually widow's walks were designed near the shore so that you can someone would watch coming up the river to wait for a spouse returning. Well, here you can see the Connecticut River from the Widow's Walk. And our first year there, we went up there to watch the fireworks from all the surrounding towns and over the river.
360-degree views of
was
fireworks.
quite lovely.
Right.
But it is, and it's all enclosed balcony, so it's quite lovely up there. A bit of a climb, not for the, it's kind of ladder-like, but perfectly safe. And on a clear day, you can see the mountains of Massachusetts. It's quite beautiful. You can see the skyline of Hartford very clearly. Yeah.
And going back to the attention of detail real quickly, they also, when they built the home, they put the metal bars with the arrows for lightning, if lightning were to strike, so it would carry it, it would ground the lightning.
Yeah, a whole system of lightning rods, beautifully designed
They're
lightning
beautiful
rods
too,
that
on
cover
top
the,
of it,
the
yeah.
entire
And decorative
house.
as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like Charles E. Beach did a fantastic job choosing the perfect location for this house. And imagine what his views were when he was there in 1901. And I think the house found a perfect caretaker in you and Lori, and you've done such a fabulous job preserving it for so many years.
Thank you. I think Charles Beach and his family would have loved what we've done.
I think they would have as well. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time to come on today. And
thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
This was great.
So delighted. What would your hope be for a future owner of your house? What would you?
Someone who loves history, someone with family, because the house loves children. Kids come into the house, they just start running through the house, they go up to the third floor and they start arguing about which bedroom they're gonna get, and they wanna play with all the games. It just can't get enough. So a good-sized family and people that love history.
And people that love history. Well, we love history here in West Hartford. Thank you very much.